Well, there it is. Hi guys, this is Witty. Welcome to a video that displays the before and after effects of the patch notes for patch 1.31. So on the left hand side we have essentially the public test realm patch notes that were taken from, a couple of months ago when it was introduced, and now we have on the right hand side the patch notes for today, the release of patch 1.31. So if you log on to Battle.net right now, you'll be able to click on and update to the latest patch if you have the official version of Warcraft 3, which you should do. So we're going to go over the changes, anything that's significant, anything that might be standing out, and we're just going to go over the hero changes and the item changes in this. So I've done a little bit of a slideshow for you, so we're going to go through. This is the Orc changes. Blade Master, Kodo Beast, Taurens, Spiked Barricades, basically all the same, nothing's changed here except the developer comment for the Spiked Barricades saying, Spiked Barricades have not had much of a role in high-level 1 vs 1 games, given the upgrade extra percentage base damage increases the effectiveness against late-game units and reduces upgrade level count, should help it with coming online faster. This does make the upgrade more complex, so we look forward to hearing the feedback about this direction. So taking a look at the human patches now. Okay, so we have the Knights, the Paladins, where they were just updated a little bit to attack air correctly, and Animal War Trainers. So nothing's changed here. Now we get into a bit more of a change. So Control Magic. Now what I've noted on the left hand side is this is what's from 1.30.2. Basically Blizzard allowed Control Magic to be buffed, and they knocked it down to 0.35, so effectively you could control summons at 643 health with a full mana pool on a Spellbreaker. But now they've actually reverted it because they said we had reduced the additional mana cost of this ability to promote its usage, but it ended up inhibiting more strategies than it promoted. So I don't know whether that means that everyone just went mass Spellbreakers since then, so they decided to basically revert it completely back to how it was. So once again, it's just kind of redundant because I don't think people were using it much in the first place, let alone after the patch. But I don't know. Maybe, but I don't like that change because that means Spellbreakers are kind of... no one was using it. Anyway, I guess they still have the ability to research it at tier 2 though now. That's the one thing. So Orb of Fire definitely got a change. Now, we know this, but they've actually updated those changes. So it's been knocked down to 7 damage from the 10, but not down to the 5, so that's a buff in its sense. But there has been a nerf to the effect that it has. It now decreases the effectiveness of healing abilities and hit point regeneration by 35%, so no longer the 50% that was suggested a while ago. Dev comment is, by shifting the Orb of Fire into an anti-healing role, the human players will be better equipped to focus fire enemy units in the late game against powerful healers such as the Death Knight. This should benefit late-game unit combinations such as Riflemen, Casters and Griffins. Its effectiveness is not determined by a unit's raw stats, so it should be viable for ranged and melee heroes. Okay. Next we have Night Elf. So Night Elf didn't get much done to them, even though they're incredibly strong. Glaive Throwers, they got their projectile speed changed from 1400 to 2000, so it was 2400 in the earliest stages of the patch. So again, just remember that the left-hand side is the very earliest stages of patch 1.31. The right-hand side are the live stages. So that's the before and after. The development comment was, we were not happy with Forepaw Glade's homing ability, always inflicting full damage at the target. The upgrade now increases the Glade's speed, but returns to having a chance to miss, similar to other siege weapons. This leans into the Glaive Thrower's personality of being a high-velocity siege weapon while fixing the bug. And Hippo Riders, the only change here is that they actually corrected their spelling error. Wow, I really picked that one out. Okay, so there are some additional changes to Night Elf. On the left-hand side, you will see nothing because there was no notes of the Demon Hunter or the Keeper of the Grove in the initial patch 1.31 changes. However, since then, they've decided to revert the changes to Demon Hunter, so he's no longer quite as nerfed as he was. So mana cost is reduced from 60 to 50 across all levels, because part of the Demon Hunter is to... due to the popularity of Keeper of Grove, no one was going Demon Hunter basically. We also agreed with feedback that the increased cost of mana burn was a factor. So one of the beautiful things that have actually finally changed is a few changes to the Keeper of the Grove. So, night vision radius reduced from 900 to 800. He's the only night elf hero I know to actually have this done to him, which basically means he can't see so well during the night. And this is obviously to do with his entangle ability, but they did reduce the range of entangle as well, so that was just kind of a weird one to me. Base intelligence reduced from 19 to 18, so just a slight nerf to his initial damage and his mana pool. Tranquility, so he is only invulnerable for 1 second instead of 3, which is very good. Force of nature, because tranquility was already amazing and it got kind of super buffed. Force of nature, just a little bit less damage there, but could be a bit less damage, because the issue with Force of Nature is probably the cheapness of the spell. It's too cheap, it's too spammy, but they've not addressed that. They've just reduced the damage by a tiny bit. Keeper has become the pick following his buffs in earlier patches. We are dialing him back to help promote some other heroes, as diverse heroes options is one of the best ways to mix up gameplay. The night vision reduction reverts an unintended change. Oh, okay, maybe I was wrong then. Perhaps they all have 800. I'm not entirely sure on that because I don't know off the top of my head, but there you go. Now we have a bunch of changes to the undead. So gargoyles originally got buffed to 400 movement speed, but it's been changed to 375, which is still an improvement on where they are right now. So they're definitely still faster, but they didn't need to go quite up to 400. 400 is pretty damn fast. So the developer comment is raising the speed of gargoyles above ground units allows them to better pick off retreating enemies or intercept reinforcements, trickling into the main force. They are still slower than the anti-air units designed to counter them though. Reducing their cost makes them a bit more competitive choice with crit themes. Okay, so as you know, Necromancer's got a whole bunch of changes and they've made some new changes to the Unholy Frenzy. So I've highlighted anything that looks like it's definitely different. So for example, now Unholy Frenzy seems to suggest that it actually is including neutral and enemy units in its effectiveness. So you sacrifice a target unit and anything near to that can get the benefit of Unholy Frenzy. So this could actually affect like creeps potentially or enemy units. So it's actually something you've got to be very careful with now. So quite curious. They've raised the cost to 175 mana, so up from 125, and they've added a 5-second cooldown. So it's not quite so spammable. Ability area, that's all fine. Attack speed bonus was reduced though from 75% to 50%. So they've just made a few changes and they state currently necromancers must be produced in large numbers right away in order to summon many skeletons, as their single target spells are locked behind the necromancer training upgrades. This commitment to necromancers can be problematic as the opposing player has a large window to scout and prepare. We want to address this by rearranging and revamping the skills of the necromancer so that producing a few early on can provide value right away while massing them later. Still lets players summon a large skeleton army. Okay, they seem fine, those changes, to be fair. It looks like they're actually, addressing the situation. Next we have, I'm sorry about the top left-hand side, I can't quite see. It's caught it off. I can't really get rid of that green text, but this is the best I could do. Yeah, still Undead Changes to Ghoul Frenzy. So no changes there, sorry, to Ghoul Frenzy, but to the Ritual Dagger, that's definitely had a few changes in between. So originally it had 20-second cooldown between charges. Now it's only 5-second cooldown between charges, so you can use it pretty damn quickly. That's quite impressive. And their comment was, with this item the undead race will have access to an early game healing effect outside of the Death Knight, using in conjunction with Rod of Necromancy or Crypt Lord Beetles, gives more fireability to creep and early game fights. We added the interrupt from damage to match the intent of a recovery mechanism between the fights. So, okay, most people were scared about ghouls being too effective versus Night Elf in an initial push against wisps and stuff, so having a way to heal those instead of having to send those back too early. This is just an item we're going to have to see how it plays out on the ladder, really. But it's a very interesting item. Quite expensive in a way, because obviously you've got to buy the Rod of Necromancy as well, and potentially the Dust of Appearance. Yeah, it's going through your bank as soon as you come out with a Death Knight, or potentially the Dreadlord or the Crypt Lord, which is what they kind of want. They want to sort of deter away a little bit from the Death Knight, but it's pretty hard because you can't really nerf him too much, but he's ridiculously strong. We all know Unholy Aura, sorry, is really, really good. And of course, the Coil. Next we have changes to neutral heroes. So Dark Ranger's not changed, but as you see, the left-hand side is blank. So these changes on the right-hand side are things that they've done since they've announced those patch notes. Alchemist cooldown increased from 0 to 6 seconds. Healing spray. I guess it stops it being spammed, but I didn't know whether people were using that so much. I still felt like they were going with Chemical Rage and Acid Bomb lately, but I might be incorrect there. So that change is fine, I guess. Yeah, I guess, yeah, 6 seconds. I mean, he basically casts it for 6 seconds, so it's just stopping you from sort of casting it as soon as you get interrupted again. That's a fine change. Acid Bomb did get nerfed, as you can see, but the numbers are minuscule. I still think Acid Bomb is way too good for what it should be. I think those numbers could be reduced, and definitely more, but, you know, a little bit helps. Transmute reduced in gold cost. It's not something that's going to affect many people, let's face it. The developers say the alchemists continue to be too well-rounded. Healing Spray's cooldown is now in line with similar abilities such as Blizzard, and we are reducing some of his early to mid-game damage compared to other damage dealer heroes. Reducing Transmute is aimed at late game where it overperformed in teams of free-for-all. Firelord has some changes to Soulburn. They've reduced the mana cost by 20, so it's 85 down to 65. The damage is reduced from 125 to 80, 270 to 200, 450 to 340. You might think that those nerfs to the damage are quite harsh, but actually they're kind of reasonable because a lot of people never used Soulburn, so no one really knew that it actually did as much damage as it did. So you might be surprised to see that level 3 Soulburn actually used to do 450 damage. That's pretty significant. And don't forget that it actually sort of like it reduces your ability to cast spells and other things. So, you know, we are trying out a new direction for Soulburn. The Firelord has had a lot of mana tension between his 3 active abilities. This aims to reduce some of the mana tension, so Soulburn's attack damage reduction and single target silence are more impactful to play. So not only does it do the damage, but it actually reduces attack damage and silences. So putting it to 65 mana makes it a lot more accessible, and you're not feeling like you're being punished so much for using it. 85 mana wasn't too much, but 65 mana is definitely quite welcome, so that's kind of a cool change. Pandaren Brewmaster, they just basically up the damage by quite a bit, actually. It doesn't look too bad. I guess they were worried that Panda wasn't being used anymore, so yeah, here we go. The Brewmaster's role as an area of effect damage dealer was overshadowed by other heroes after his previous round of changes. As the main role of the Brewmaster, we wanted to bring the Pandemonium back to his kit. So yeah, they were basically scared about Panda never being used again since they overbuffed Alchemist. And yeah, Panda's good. Now we might actually see him definitely be played rather than saying, it's good, but I'd rather have an Alchemist. So that could be an interesting change. Okay, so we got the items here. The only thing I wanted to point out here was the developer comment, because Boost of Speed, Ring of Protection, and Cloak of Shadows haven't changed since the patch notes. Obviously, they've changed since you know it, but since the patch notes, this is pretty much the same. Basically, Ring of Protection got +1, and they removed the level 7 one, which is a good change. We get quite a bit of feedback about the Rings of Protection being underpowered compared to other items in the tier. So we increased the bonus armor they provided by 1. We are removing the highest tier RNG ring, as it is often less impactful for heroes who obtain it compared with others options in that tier. So there you go. Other items include the Periaptor Vitality. They simply mentioned the Periaptor was the only item in the tier that wasn't 325 gold. Well, there you go. I guess that's a good enough reason. It serves a purpose, a very bland purpose, but just to increase your health. Good in the late game versus nukes with coils and storm bolts and stuff like that. Otherwise, that's it. Those are the changes. I wanted to keep this short and sweet as much as I could. Believe it or not, this actually took like 2 hours to create. I had to work out to do like slideshow and just get this all to go through, doing the screenshots side by side, copy and pasting that all to make that look nice and neat as best as I could. If you've got any feedback, please let me know on what I could do to potentially improve this, what you would like to see to be done in a better fashion, if it could be done so, which of course it could. There's always room for improvement. So make sure to subscribe and thumbs up the video. That definitely helps a lot. Share this with other people. If you're interested in the Warcraft free scene, or you want to know the latest about this patch, this is a good video to show you off essentially what they were thinking of when they originally created the patch 1.31 and the changes they've made since then. So thank you guys very much. This is WTiiWarcraft. I'm going to now hurry up and eat and then do my stream. Twitch.tv/Witty. WTii on Twitch. Go check me out there, because I'm a little bit late because this took so damn long. So thank you again. Have a good time and take care. Bye bye.